Hello and welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Juliet, and here with me today is
I'm Nat Silveira.
Nat, who is the author of a new hit sci-fi, or I guess speculative horror novel, The Chrysalis Body.
Yes, The Chrysalis Body, which is a short novel about running around a hostile space station, aliens, feeling weird about being a person, and you can check that out if you want at lost-signals.itch.io.
There's a lot about kind of reckoning with the past as a person in the present. I think that is to me very, very evocative. And
Thanks.
we are currently seeing Magic's return to its original horror setting in the form of a little plane called Shadowmoor, aka Lorwyn Shadowmoor, the plane where it used to be you would have these days that would last like months or years, and then the plane shifts over into its scary nighttime version, and that lasts for a really long time too. That's all changed, so now it's all together. So we have the new set Lore and Eclipse after 20 years since the original Lorwyn.
Sounds very exciting.
As a result, podcast listeners can listen to the previous episode, I believe, in the feed, which is going to be talking about the idea of nonviolence and how that is kind of a core theme to the pastoral kind of hobbiton life of Lorwyn. And I thought it would be interesting to look at kind of the counterbalance of that with kind of a look at horror today. Nat, can you tell me what does horror mean to you? What draws you towards horror?
I feel like horror is it's an interesting genre because I feel like both of us are sometimes have a tough time with horror. It
Mhm,
can be
mhm.
tough to like get into that headspace of like this story is literally just trying to make you uncomfortable and scare you, but of course that's not really all that it's doing when you're experiencing that. I find it like really interesting to like sort of experience those things that really scare you but also push them to new levels, if that makes sense.
Mhm, mhm.
I feel like the horror that hits the best for me is horror that is actually sort of filtered through like a different genre, like in sci-fi horror or even like sort of like weird fiction, where you just get stuff that is like the horror comes from it being just
And weird fiction being kind of that's like Cthulhu-esque, sort of.
kind of, yeah. I feel like it's more like Annihilation, like Jeff Vandermeer.
Gotcha, gotcha. I definitely can also then pull in, even if it's not always conveyed through horror, I think very adjacent are some of the magical realist works of authors like Jorge Luis Borges and,
Oh
you
yes,
know,
he's appeared quite quickly.
things like the Zahir or the Aleph or the Book of Sand. You know, here's this book that has an infinite number of pages in it. Here's this library with an infinite number of books in it. Here's a a coin that can capture the fascination of any person who touches it or be lost among many others. You know, a lot of these ideas of for me my like analysis and study of magical realism is often about the intrusion of a fantastic element into reality, the fantasia, sometimes say, and then like how reality tries to like recoil and build itself around that,
Mm-hmm.
which is not always horror. I think Stephen King honestly does some of that sometimes and makes it like extremely horror. Uh,
Yeah, I can see that. That's the very horror end of it.
I definitely find, as you say, filtered through a different genre. I cannot stand most like horror movies, qua horror movies. I can't listen to Just King things on the Range Touch Network. I can't I can't really
Uh,
engage with most of those things. But I have a much easier time dealing with stuff when it's like and it's vampires. Like it's the scary
mhm,
thing, but it
mhm.
is vampires, or but it is werewolves, or even sometimes like aliens can definitely make it work, or like evil fairies or whatever. As long as it isn't just like and people are truly horrific to one another, which is
Yeah.
unfortunately I think the dominant mode of the genre.
Yeah, of like horror exclusively or of like sort of slasher films and whatnot. I don't know if slasher really
Exactly.
counts as a horror. It's almost kind of more like it's a thriller. It's more about
Sure.
like the violence itself.
And I think we can both include it when we say, okay, that can be a part of horror, but also exclude it when we say, hey, that's not the horror that at least I'm interested in. I think that we're interested in today. That's not necessarily the horror of, for our listeners, the horror of most of Innistrad, the horror of Duskmorn, Innistrad being the like gothic vampires and werewolves plane, and Duskmorn being the surprisingly not very gothic at all. You're in an infinite like mansion, but it's like an 80s slasher
Oh, that's fun. I love
plane.
an infinite mansion.
I do too. Comma.
Who doesn't love an infinite mansion?
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is the saving grace, I think, of the setting is like, well, we do still want to think about what if a plane was one of these things. But
Mm-hmm.
Shadowmoor was kind of what if the creepy side of fairy tales as an origin point.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some cards prepared for us. And so thinking about in the original visit to Shadowmoor and Eventide, the small set as part of Shadowmoor, we've got a classic card like Creekwood Liege. It's 1 and 3 Golgari hybrid mana. So it's a 4 mana 2/2. It's a creature horror. And it has that liege text of other black creatures you control get +1/+1. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1, and it's making worms, and it's this like really weird creepy tree, I
I love
suppose,
him. Look at this guy.
that just like, yeah, it's making worms, it's making little worms, but while he's around, the worms are like triple the scariness that they are. As far as horrific trees, we've also got like crabapple cohort. It's 4 and a green for a 4/4. It's a common creature tree folk warrior. It gets +1/+1 as long as you control another green creature. It has, here's the flavor text: 7 wives made 7 pies from 7 apples, each plucked from its branches. Now bare and bitter it comes to exact its price. 1 apple, 1 bone.
Ooh.
Which you get the feeling of, okay, we're in
It's very fairy tale.
yeah, exactly. We're in the dark part of the woods of the fairy tale. The tree is coming back to exact its revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 5-ish colors in Magic, and typically you'll find that a lot of the scarier things are kind of centered around the black cards. That is the color with keywords like fear and
Yeah,
later on intimidate and menace and
this
stuff like
is
that. And
this is also the deck
yes,
type that I played back in high school.
yeah.
Is mostly black cards.
Something I kind of like about Shadowmoor, and occasionally when Magic's done other horror stuff, but like Shadowmoor, I think set this up well. Is here we're gonna have like mono green cards that are also really like scary intended. They are like horror genre sort of cards. They are cards that are meant to intimidate the player a little bit and
Mm.
intimidate the characters like in the fiction a lot.
I would be pretty intimidated if I if I saw this approaching me. I'm not even sure if I can parse what it is.
It's a
It's like
big,
a
like an ent, but
but
uh,
snakes, spiky snakes, but also like a wasp nest a little bit.
oh, that's the next one. That's Spawn Writhe,
Oh,
which
I'm
I think
looking
is
at Spawn
also
Ride. Let me scroll
equal,
back.
one to the left, Crabapple Cohort.
Oh
That's a big
yes,
scary tree crawling towards you.
absolutely.
Spawn Writhe, another great example. That's the classic 2 and a green 2/2. It's a rare. It has trample, and whenever Spawn Writhe deals combat damage to a player, put a token to play that's a copy of Spawn Writhe. It just gets bigger and creepier. And I think one of the interesting things that card in particular is going to highlight, and we'll see a number of cards similar, is this is an elemental. And elementals in Lore and Shadowmoor are like weird amalgam creatures made from dreams or nightmares that have kind of come to life in terrifying ways.
Interesting. Ooh, here's emptiness. I love emptiness. Look at this thing.
So we got 4 of the elementals from, this is the more recent Lore and Eclipse set. So the previous cards are 20 years ago. These are the ones that are coming
Hmm.
out literally this week. And emptiness is this, like, terrifying it's like, okay, what if you had a skeleton with ram horns, but its head was missing? It, like, had a
Yeah.
head, but it was missing that.
Yeah,
You
its
can
head
look
is
at
like a hole where there used to be a head.
mhm. You can look at shimmer creep, which is what if a bull body had, like, massive spider legs
Oh, yes,
made
I
of,
was
like,
sleeping on this guy because I was looking at emptiness.
gossamer,
This guy also owns. I think I just like looking at, these arts of, like,
right?
very scary looking creatures.
We've got Moonshadow, that's the new mythic. It's a 1 mana 7/7 with Menace, and it enters with 6 -1/-1 counters, and then when you put, permanent cards into your graveyard from anywhere, you remove a -1 counter from it, so it grows quite big.
Mm.
You Each of these things are elementals. They are what we sometimes call the greater elementals of Laura and Shadowmoor. They are scary, weird things that don't like fit reality. And some of them are like fun, weird, what if a puppy was made of flowers? But even that can get pretty unsettling sometimes. And the most scary ones are, I think, especially so. And so I wonder if like an element that we can tease from this, like a thread that we could put down, might be something like doesn't belong in reality or doesn't belong in the like the world that we thought we were in at the start of the story.
Mhm.
As like, do you think that that could fit our like kind of working definition of horror?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
You can see it's not just the black or black aligned or black hybrid elementals in modern day Lorwyn Eclipsed that can be this kind of weird scary because we've got weird what if a deer was a mosquito moth sort of cards
Ooh, I
like
did not
Kith
zoom in
Keeper.
close enough on that one to see that
It's
it had a deer head.
yeah, yeah, the deer head and like hugging the
Yeah,
wall
that's
in a very
beautiful, and,
creepy
like, the sparkly rainbow wings. A plus
mhm.
creature.
And that's a, like, friendly positive card,
Yeah, I love this dude. I'd hang out with him.
uh, with a, like, hummingbird moth style, like, extended
Yeah.
proboscis tongue and everything. That's one of the vivid creatures. Or if you look at belonging, the 3rd creature here, it's one of, belonging is one of these there's the greater elementals, and then there's the elemental incarnations, which have just here's a word, here's like a noun, here's the spiritual representation of this thing. And it is massive in the clouds with a giant, weird, long head, a bunch of eyes of different sizes, curly ram horns, long, weird, almost like people
Mm.
legs, but
Mhm.
like by the
Yep.
hundreds sticking out of its bottom. And then in the very far back, you can see like the long tail of like a
It's
whale or
incredible.
dolphin.
I feel we should also mention it's, like, has, like, a huge, like, crown/crest over its head.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Now imagine if you are, like, the size of the little, trees down at the very bottom of the picture, and you're looking up at this thing just, like, walks out of a cloud, and you're like, "Oh,
I'm not having an ideal time, I have to say.
okay." The world is different than the
Yeah.
one I thought we were in,
Mm.
even in, like, positive ways. Another thing jumping back to the first 2 images here, another thing that Shadowmoor introduced to us was the idea of the scarecrow as a creature type in Magic, and then that became whole bunches of scarecrows were printed. The Skulkins, I think, are particularly interesting from Shadowmoor because they're what if you made something out of a bunch of parts? And so we've got like Hoof Skulkin, where imagine the body is made out of a whole bunch of hooves and then you just put a
Yeah.
head on it. Or Jawbone Skulkin, where it's like, what if the hands were like faces with jawbones and the head was like a
Amazing.
walnut? And in general, the idea of the scarecrow, I think how would you describe body horror as it's used in your work?
I would say that Body horror is just kind of, let me use a quick example, which is I feel like the body horror thing that is like fairly influential in why we think about this so closely with like sci-fi horror is like Alien, like the movie
Mhm.
Alien, which is instantly just about it becomes about the body and like in the sense of like parasitism and like if you have control over that or not. I think it's like a way of the body is like a thing that is like very personal to you, obviously. And horror and these sort of these spaces in sci-fi horror let you sort of explore that in a weird way. And sometimes that can be like very freeing to like explore the body in ways that are like not that wouldn't be possible in real life.
So, I think the idea of, like, not having control over your body or the, like, question of the control, the question of, like, in the space that I am in, I'm not able to control the things affecting me. Like, I can't control my environment, I think is a part of, "Hey, I'm gonna go into this environment, and I think I'm gonna be able to control them in one way, and I'm not necessarily gonna have all the control over the environment that I thought I was gonna
Yeah,
have." That's a through line I think I would potentially pick up from, in some ways, a few different parts of, the Chrysalis body.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I think body horror also, as a genre, sort of lets you push your fears to 11 in a way that, like, obviously doesn't really happen in the real world. Like, if you're talking about even something like a werewolf transformation, which is kind of another thing, but you
Mhm.
can see that in a body horror light where it's like, okay, you are becoming something, you're transforming into something that you no longer have control over.
I think that can let you explore, in the safe controlled space of fiction, like, what are the worries that I have? What are the anxieties that I have and I might be processing? Thinking about another classic eventide rare, as we say, a random eventide rare, Juliet's specialty is rekindled flame. It's
Oh, great art on
2
this
red and
one.
red for a sorcery. Uh-huh. Deals 4 damage to any target. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent has no cards in hand, you can just return this up. It's not as efficient as some other like punishing flames, but the art is big fat candle within like two small candles for arms, and they're all like melting as though like one's head and hands have already lit away in the the candle. And that's not going to happen to any of us. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we're probably not going to turn into candlemen and then melt while relighting ourselves.
But, what isn't there's like a classical neuroses, which is people who thought their bodies were made out of glass or porcelain. This
Mhm.
was just like a thing that came over people in the long pre-internet
Yeah.
days and times. In like, hundreds and longer years ago. And you can tie those things to like societal neuroses. But I also think understanding that the body is frail and many of the like constructs of like second body that we build around ourselves, whether that's like cars or apartments or
Mhm.
your desk at your workplace or anything, that these things are like similarly frail is a like that's already a fear that people have, and so you can potentially like cathartically deal with that fear or like in an enjoyable way brush up against that fear by seeing a work of art, like for instance this cool candle thing that you go, oh, I can feel that, I can see that in that way.
Yeah, and I've in a genre way we can kind of I don't know, is our experience of these okay, so we can't turn into a candle man and like slowly melt away exactly. But I feel
Mhm.
like the stories that we write and like the art that we make about this kind of thing is often like our own experiences of very similar things. Our experience of pain, like in the moment of being in pain. I don't know that that's
Mhm.
any like much different than like being a candle man and slowly melting to
Sure.
death, like, it's just kind of like another way of expressing that, if that makes sense.
Sure, I'm gonna write that down.
Melting is such a classic body horror thing anyway,
Right.
though, isn't it? Like, it's like the body is, like, not only frail, but, like, also permeable in some way.
Mhm. I think tying that to the idea that when we do experience pain and honestly grief and fear and various other things,
Mhm.
the dolorum of the ipsum, as it were, that these things do feel, like, very heightened when you are feeling it. Like, once you have distance from stuff, things you can kind of approach it
Yeah.
rationally, but when you physically hurt from something, sometimes it's like, "No, it is really that bad. I would do
Yeah.
anything to, escape," or like, "Oh, I'm really anxious about this thing," or, "Oh, I'm scared of this thing happening." Hey, in the moment, it is especially heightened. And so when you're not in that moment, I think having heightened ways of expressing that is it's a useful analog that's like part of being a person.
Yeah, like even though it's like worse technically, like if you're gonna be like, oh, my body's like melting to pieces and I'm literally like still alive while my body is like collapsing into goo, in a way that's still
Mhm.
like a less real version of something that we're trying to express that we did experience.
Do you have opinions on scarecrows?
I don't know that I do.
I think the scarecrow is an interesting thing when thinking about this kind of like fantasy horror space, this like speculative horror sort of space, or this like kind of negative fairy tale space, in part because it's such a body that isn't a person,
Hmm.
but similarly to, this candle person, there's an easy sensation with a with puppets, I suppose, but with, like, scarecrows as oftentimes, like, life-size recreations of a person, which is not, I think, something we tend to encounter to begin with, and because they are meant to be scary to things that aren't us, it's easy to then, like, expand the category of scarecrow, which is thing that looks like a person enough to scare an animal, and then expand that to thing that looks like a person just enough to scare us, but, like, enough not like a person to be scary to us, because the things about a scarecrow that scare a crow are the opposite set of the things about a scarecrow that scares a person.
Hmm. Unless you're just looking at that scarecrow out of the corner of your eye, then I think it's maybe the same.
You're right. You're right. When you're not expecting to see it, I suppose. We are
Yeah.
we're more crow-like than we think.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, the pattern recognition is kind of crazy. At one of my jobs, we had like our boss got like a new plant, and for whatever reason, I couldn't like looking straight on, the plant looked normal. But if you like walked down the hall and saw this plant out of the corner of your eyes, it looked exactly like a person. And like this was not just me, like all three of us were walking by getting like jump scared by this plant like multiple times a day for some reason, just because it looked kind of like a person. And like there's other people working there. There could have just been a person standing there, but something about the plant like looking kind of like a person where we didn't expect it was like just terrifying to everybody. But then 2 weeks later, none of us saw it anymore. Like we had all just like absorbed it into our like what we expected to see in the hallway.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of sometimes when I encounter a structural thing like that, or, I've had a coworker who had a ringtone that, like, made me, like, jump every time I heard it, because I was like, "Oh, that's a, like, something is wrong noise." That was just their, like, text
Mm-hmm.
notification. But I would, like
Ugh. I don't know how people live like this.
and I had to say, like, "Hey, would you mind?" They're like, "Why would I change something because you asked me to?" And I'm like,
Oh.
"Okay, we're never gonna
A
be
little rude,
friends."
but
Like,
yeah, come on.
the thing I'm asking you for is not so much, but I think in many ways we cannot help certain things that do make us scared, whether that is, you know, a plant in a particular way against a
It's a
particular
very
wall.
scary plant, Juliet.
Uh-huh. Or and, like, also, I'm sure something about, like, hey, how does the hallway, like, open up onto something for this plant? Like, there are, like, structural parts of that, or a particular sound is connected to something else, uh, in more, like, lighter ways. When I was a TA for one of these big, like, 300-person classes in this big lecture hall, somebody had the, like, Metal Gear Solid, like, exclamation point sound, the, like, "Oh, no, you've been spotted,"
Yeah.
like, sound
I can hear it in my brain right now.
as, like, a effect on their like, as presumably, like, a text ringtone, and, like,
Oh
every
my god,
time it
that's
would go
fucked up.
off, it's just like, "Hey, I'm sorry." But, like, certain things you just don't need to be hearing in this lecture hall right now, and this is one of
Honestly,
them.
yes. Do you want a noise that is like designed to alarm activate you if you have ever played any Metal Gear Solid game?
Hmm. So, with some of these building blocks that we've found along the way, looking at the nonviolent side and what kind of pacifism and nonviolent means, I was looking at, okay, hey, there's the peace element, the playful element, the pastoral element. For horror here, I think this idea of not having control over your body or the space around it or things like that, of maybe some things that are like intruding onto reality or not seeming like they fit with like changing the thing that you think you're in. Which I feel like Alien also kind of does. Like, hey, we're in one type of sci-fi until whoops, no, we are in a different kind of story. We didn't expect
Oh yeah, for
these things
sure.
to be invading our bodies or hunting us in these ways. What is it? Is the Nostromo? Is that the
It
ship in?
yes,
Yeah.
that's the ship. I just rewatched Alien recently and like the way the Nostromo is shot is so like it's just so asymmetric and like all these tubes and weird chains, like it's like wet, like organic. It's just fascinating. Really good movie.
And also thinking about, again, this kind of heightened expression of pains or anxieties that we potentially do feel. And also maybe tying in this idea of like things that appear to be human but are not. Let's
Mhm.
try to design some magic cards.
Sounds fun.
So, do you have any like favorite magic cards from when you did play?
That is a great question. It was long enough ago that I find it difficult to remember specific ones, but I definitely had a thing for any card that was like demon themed.
Ooh, demons. Great, great, love it.
I love a demon. I think, it's stylish.
So if you click through the Scryfall link, you can see that in original Shadowmoor and Eventide, we had these cards that are they're 5 pips of hybrid mana, which was like totally unique and new at the time. And they aren't horrors, they're all spirit avatars. They're also not demons, but some of them definitely have demonic aspects to them. If you look
Mm.
at something like Demigod of Revenge, it's like that's a demon right there, right? Like maybe
Oh yeah.
its arms are just wings, but like that could be a demon. Divinity of Pride is maybe more of a like reaping angel than a demon, but like what's the difference between an angel and a demon? That might be a different favorite flavor episode.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah, that's
thinking
very fun.
maybe a demon horror, maybe a spirit avatar. We've got flexible space there. Demons oftentimes involve like a sacrifice element. The classic like Lord of the Pit thing. You have this big demon, and like, hey, you just have to sacrifice another creature every turn, otherwise this will deal damage to you in some way. Um, let's see. So we want to do a big scary thing. Maybe something that do you have an idea for either the like parasitism, not having control of your body element, sort of body horror, or like a fear or anxiety or pain that we could like heighten in a scary fairy tale sort of way?
Hmm.
What if we made an elemental incarnation just named horror?
I
This is
mean,
the avatar of horrorness.
it fulfills the brief.
What would be horror? I mean, it probably has menace or fear or some combination of these
Mm.
things. We've seen deceit, we've seen emptiness, we've seen moon shadow with menace in these ways. It's another weird thing to happen to a character.
I mean, we've had Candleman melting into goo, but I
Uh-huh.
mean, he's already kind of made of wax. It might be interesting to do a variation on that, like if somebody else was melting in wax, or if you could like become a material like that against your will.
Ooh. Okay. How about kindling?
Kindling, all right.
We've got tree folk are a big thing in like Lurwyn and Shadowmoor, and I think the tree folk, when they get scary, are some of the scariest stuff. If you look at the fifth image, you can see these are all new Lurwyn Eclipsed cards. So these are showing off the like Shadowmoor combination plane. And trees can get really scary.
Trees are already kind of scary. Like they're just very tall. Like okay, trees are great, but they're also just like very tall life forms that are just here and like maybe communicating and are like older than we kind of like experience time ourselves.
Mhm. So what if, like, this idea of kindling, like, "Hey, you're becoming a tree just long enough to be, like, burned?"
Hmm,
Like
that's compelling.
"Hey, you might have been able to outrun this flame, or maybe you wouldn't worry about it, but, like, you're turning to wax, you're turning into a tree that can be burned."
Yeah, there is something compelling about, like, a threat that you normally could totally escape, but minor thing, well, okay, being turned into a tree is not minor, but something has happened that has made this minor threat, like a small fire suddenly is like, this will kill you.
I'm trying to remember, is it episode 19, I wanna say, of Welcome to Night Vale? Is the one with the trees? I'm gonna look this up.
Ugh, yeah, I'm a bad Tumblr gay. I never listen to Night Vale.
Episode 22, I believe, The Whispering Forest. I see. I was so close. Which is this new forest that appears, and they set up this stuff where just like, "Hey, just don't go and become one of the trees. Like, you know you
Mm.
want to, but don't go become one of the trees." And it's just like
Well, it's just like when you phrase it like that, you kind of want to.
right?
The Whispering Forest is a place where we can all plunge our feet and hands into the cool, soft soil, allowing our fingers and toes to grow and spiral into the earth.
And it's like, wait a minute, what is it about these trees that do actually maybe do I kind of want to become a tree? Like,
Hmm.
is this maybe just a thing that I've wanted without realizing that I've wanted it? The lignification. I think lignify is an old Lauren removal spell. So making this scarier. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
does it get sacrificed when an elemental comes into play? Do you sacrifice to add mana?
Hmm.
Scary stuff. Should we just be turning somebody into a scarecrow rather than turning them into a tree? Really makes
Yeah, I'm always asking this question.
which do you
Um,
think is scarier, being turned into a scarecrow or being turned into a tree?
I don't know. I feel like because we've been talking about the fire thing, the tree thing suddenly seems scary to me.
Mhm.
Like maybe it's like awesome to be turned into a tree, but then, you know that you're only being turned into a tree to be burst into flames, which is not ideal.
Okay. I mean, get down this scarecrow design because I think it's simple and evocative. So turn into scarecrow. It's like an aura. You like enchant a creature with it, and they become like an artifact creature with defender, and creatures you control get -1, -0, or something like that. So it's like, hey,
Mhm.
opponent, not only is this creature like basically dead, also now all of your other creatures are more scared
Oh yeah, that's
because
fun. That's a fun
we put this
effect.
out. Yeah.
I'm also compelled by like what does it mean to be turned into a scarecrow?
Mhm.
Like are you physically transmogrifying into like a burlap sack stuffed with hay or are we like your human body's still in there somewhere. You're just also a scarecrow.
Right? Or are you like you're tied to a pole and then you're like, "Wait a minute, am I a scarecrow that came to life and has like a memory of being a person? Or am I a person?" There's the depersonalization kind of affect of that. What the should be creatures you control get -1, -0, or should it be like they can't block alone? Let's just stick with -1, -0. And then this is such a weird removal spell. Feels weird to put it in white because it's like scary, but maybe this can be like Shadowmoor white.
Mm.
We've got Stuff with Straw. It's a very Shadowmoor sort of card. 2 and a white blue hybrid for an enchantment aura with enchant creature, and enchanted creature is a scarecrow artifact creature with defender, and creatures you control get -1, -0. Yeah. So that's that. That's like, okay, here's this aura that happens. We're infringing on the body in this way. We're doing something that like hey, I was just gonna help out with the harvest for this little farming village. What? I'm in a different story now. I'm this is
Yeah.
this has gone outside of my control. I think I'm human, but I guess I'm not, or we're inverting
No.
this in this way. And yeah, yeah. Okay, now kindling. Kindling. -1/-1 counter on target creature. It becomes a tree folk in addition to its other types. I think that probably has to be the tap ability. This can be a scary mono black or black green tree. And then sacrifice a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it. Add mana that you can spend on an elemental spell. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Wait, sacrifice a tree folk. What's a good cost for this? Can really ramp out elementals. That's fine. Like we're doing weird stuff. Sacrificing a tree folk costs plenty. There are a few different color combinations I think we go with this, but I think it's interesting to lean into that there's a lot of things that are horror-y on Shadowmoor that aren't just in Black's color pie. So with the white-blue hybrid earlier, this is kindling for one red, a red-green hybrid, and green. So that's 4 mana in red and green. And it's a 4/1 that's a creature elemental incarnation with, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. It becomes a tree folk in addition to its other types. And sacrifice a tree folk, add 3 mana of any color, spend this mana only on elementals. You know, casting and abilities. It's a 4/1 for 4 mana because it also shares the spirit of like easily being broken down. It can't
Hmm.
target itself, which I think is possibly interesting. So you've seen some of the greater elementals on the Lorne plane, these like weird amalgam creatures and everything. Can you, Nat, paint us a picture thinking about these weird amalgam creatures we've seen from the elementals and the incarnations and stuff on Lorwyn? What what horror weird thing is kindling as a creature?
As a creature. Okay. So this is our creature that is inflicting this effect
Mhm. And anything
on
like describing what, like, the art would look like, basically, or the art description that might even go out to the artist or to the listener.
Ooh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like we gotta play a little bit with like undergrowth and roots with this
Okay,
one, maybe.
okay.
Like it's the type of kindling that you would naturally go to gather if you were making a fire, but sort of like rising up into almost a web-like shape to
Ooh,
ensnare people.
webs. Webs are great. Webs are so scary.
Webs are scary. I just moved into a new apartment. I had to deal with so many webs.
Yeah. Okay, so webs of the undergrowth. Now, can you name, like, 2 or 3 animals that it has weird, incongruous body parts of?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, let me think. So it's a web that's got a little bit of a flavor of like I I hesitate to go deer again because we've seen so many good deer creatures that already are just like messing with what your expectation of a deer is. Plus,
Sure.
classic uncanny deer.
So if
I
it's
wonder if there's
not
another one like
yeah, we've seen deer, and I think we've also seen, like, goat and goat adjacent things.
oh yeah, yeah, lots of goat, lots of ungulates happening.
Mhm,
I think
and
because
so
they're already uncanny creatures.
what if I mean, should we be thinking, like, is there, like, a horse element? Horses are scary, right?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, horses,
Actually,
terrifying. This podcast is just becoming me declaring that perfectly mundane things are terrifying.
Nat, can you tell us a little bit about horses?
I don't know anything about horses.
Okay, great, great.
They're very tall and intimidating, and beautiful and have large hearts, I'm told.
You heard it from the horse's mouth. Anyways, I so, yeah, okay. What if this has, like, the legs of a horse, but not the horse's head?
Yeah, yeah, classic.
horse head, normal, scary, like horror trope and everything. Bunch of horse hooves, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Horse legs underutilized in the horror space.
Horse legs with like it seems like the body is like coming up from twigs into a web that then comes down to horse legs. It's like you already have a base there. Do you also need legs here? It's like, yeah, it's a 4-1.
Yeah.
It's gonna be stampling and trampeding and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I might enjoy it if the legs also bent in ways that horse legs should not
Ooh,
typically bend.
yeah, yeah,
All those weird little joints, they can go any way they want.
yeah. And we can go, is it Odin's horse? No, it's one of the Norse horses has like a bunch of legs.
Oh, yes, yeah. I know what you mean, but I also don't remember what it's called.
Sleipnir, maybe, or please don't come for me for my vague memory of what that horse's name might be. But yeah, okay. What if it's an odd number of horse legs?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's gotta be.
Like 5 legs or something. That's 5 legs and one weird like stump in the ground that it's coming out of. It's like, okay, there's an incongruity here. And maybe you do not want
Mhm.
to be like too close to this thing because do you want to be like that? I wouldn't mind being like a tree. I don't know that I'd want to be part of a weird tree web horse creature that then
Yeah.
is set on fire for things.
Yeah, that's a little more intimidating.
So maybe we also have like a little bit of fire around. What's a way to make little bits of fire, either like animalistic or scary?
Hmm. I mean, we've already removed the head, so we can't do our classic, burning eyes situation.
Burning eyes, or another classic Shadowmoor thing, which is I think horse with like flaming mane.
Hmm. I mean, you can't deny the charisma of a horse with a flaming mane, but I don't know that this guy is particularly charismatic.
Hmm. I've just pulled up the art and card for Spite Mare, a
Oh, that's
old
interesting.
red and white card from Eventide. That's a classic redirect effect. Before we had Boros Reckoners, we had Spite Mares that we played with. 2 red white hybrid for a 3/3 uncommon creature elemental. Whenever Spite Mare is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. And it's a horse. It's a kind of glowing horse where the front legs seem to be disappearing into the ethereal grain, and its tail is a massive nest of very long snakes, and the snakes are breathing fire. So maybe we can bring that in, that like there's the web front and then like the hooves that come out of nowhere. Maybe the hooves that Spitmare is missing are showing up in kindling. And we can
Oh, yeah.
add some snakes, that the snakes coming out of the horse twigs themselves have like fire in their mouths. So the fire isn't at the wood part yet, but it's like it's so close. So we can be doing
Yeah.
a
Gives
callback.
you a little bit of tension because it's like it's the creature itself does not appear to be on fire, but it almost will be at any moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Spooky, scary stuff. So alongside these cards designed, you can hop in the Discord and tell us what cards you would design based on these horror principles, but you can also share with us your submissions for January's design challenge, which is Janus Two-Faced, design a non-creature dual-faced card. And we've got bonus points for that. First one is War and Peace. The text should contain the string equal to the number. And the other bonus point is Jack and Jill went up the hill. The submission is easy to read because
Hmm.
a two-faced card means we're reading double the number of cards, and we'll make it easy for the judges and the podcast listeners. And those submissions are going to be due January 30th. So let's see. That will be, yeah. When you're hearing this, you will have just a few days left to get your designs in. Nat, would you like to tell us more about the Chrysalis body, which people can find at lost-signals.itch.io, either there or lostsignals.io/thechrysalis body.
Yes, I can give you just a little bit of a taste before we sign off.
Mhm.
So, The Chrysalis Body is a dystopian sci fi horror in which a miserable space salvager, fresh off the death of a crewmate, is trapped on an abandoned station and hunted by the strange life forms which have taken residence there. So, if you want to hear some more about scary plants and grieving and some very melty body horror, you can check it out. And you can also check it out if you don't want to download it on itch at other marketplaces at books2read.com/the chrysalis body.
Ooh, bookstory.com/thechrysalis body. This is, I think, my favorite piece of new fiction from 2025. I guess it technically also came out in 2026. But
It did come out in 2026. I held on to it for a while.
listener, I got to read an advanced copy of it because I'm just we're so exclusive. We're so cool.
Yeah, very exclusive to Juliet copy.
It is right kind of on the line for me of the scariness of the horror, but I came away from it with like a really positive experience reading it. And so, listener, if you are like me, somewhat timid, you can still read this. And if, listener, you are unlike me and not extremely timid on the scale of people, you will probably read this and have a really good time and come away thinking a lot of things about that experience.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Juliet.
Yeah, you can of course find the Discord, the link in the show notes. You can find me most places of the internet at Folly Persist, but if you have questions about podcast stuff, you can just ask them right in the Discord.
If you wish to, you can find me on Blue Sky at Nattery, Nattery.
There you go. Thanks for listening, and always remember, the person lurking behind you is really just a plant.
It's always a plant.
Mhm. This happens at magician shows a lot. You put a plant in the audience.
Well,